Smokey, we here. I mean, the weather was favorable to us because we needed this weather with the kind of hot sun we've been having. So we had to take it from outside and bring it back inside. I know we touched on your first involvement in Carnival through, your dad taking you to Carnival. We look at the fact of the sound system and the transition from having to be a part of sound system and moving into Carnival. So this is your journey, the start of the involvement of Carnival came out of the sound system. We know once you got involved in that, you then started to work with, I think it was Koki, and you started to do the
Yes.
bank holiday gig, which was really popular. That was
Yes.
fantastic. We touched on that. Where we left out before we come inside was we were looking at the aspect of radio and Carnival having its voice, having its own voice. And I think you sort of agreed to the point where it is time that Carnival start to, champion its own cause. Um, what you think is the ills that is the negative, hence the reason why we need to now champion our own cause as far as radio broadcasts.
Well, I think we don't have a voice of reply. Everybody is taking a bite out of Carnival, and mostly in a negative way because you'll find coming around, Carnival's coming around, so about April, May, June,
Yeah.
right? It becomes Carnival bashing season, so a lot of people in the
Oh,
media.
that's what you call it. You call it Carnival bashing.
The Carnival bashing because you're gonna jump and say, well, we have to get rid of the Carnival. Nobody speaks about the positive side of Carnival
Okay.
and the things that happen, the things that Carnival brings to the community,
Mhm.
right? And so we have no voice to reply. So when somebody make an accusation, you can't say. So we should have really had our own radio station or media because we have a great output of music, right? For instance, like soca, calypso music.
Yeah.
But we get, okay, I was lucky or fortunate enough to have had a show on BBC London for 6 years,
Yeah.
right? But it still come across as a token gesture.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we don't have
And we
a
don't have
proper
that.
stamp in
Yeah,
the industry.
because over the years you'll get excuses. Like I remember way back in 1978, 79, the question came about having a weekly soca calypso program,
Yeah.
and the answer was we didn't have enough releases per year to warrant a weekly show, and I could understand that, because everything in the Caribbean was very seasonal, based around Trinidad Carnival.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, of course, you got so much music coming out from every single island. I mean, Trinidad alone had over 2,000 songs released
Yeah. Yeah.
in Carnival. So there's a space where we can project the music, right? And it's people are sometimes saying, well, how come reggae was so successful? Reggae was successful because the output of reggae music was absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a
You
heavy
know,
output, yeah.
you would get 20 releases out of Jamaica every week coming in, and people would have to go to their shop and
That will be hard to beat.
yes,
somewhat,
they had
yeah.
to beat. Yes,
Yeah.
and people went to the shop. If you're a DJ, you have to make sure that you went into the party with the latest songs.
Yeah, but Smokey, in saying so, now we're talking. This is 2026, and we're looking at the 60 years of Carnival. That whole dynamics of we didn't have enough material coming out.
It's changed.
It's changed for I would say the last 10 years. So what is the reason why we still on the same treader up the ladder and still trying to get up the ladder?
I think we rely too much, almost like going cap in hand, saying, please give me a play on your radio station,
Yeah.
right? When we should have actually had a proper, although there are many stations now, they're called community stations. Initially, we were called pirate radio stations because, those came about because of the frustration of not being able to play your music. So everybody says, you know what, I'll stick an aerial up and create my own radio station.
Yeah.
And they became very popular. I was on one, right? JFM years ago. Those stations became popular because it was needed, and it was a way to get your message across to people. I remember one of the major commercial stations said about Pirate, oh, they're taking our revenue, right? But
Yeah.
we weren't taking the revenue because if you put a 30-second slot advert on a major station, it costs you maybe £2,000 at prime time.
Yeah.
We won't charge it anywhere near that money. You know.
So, would you say that pirate or community radio would have influenced Carnival back in those days?
I think without a doubt, I was on a community radio back in the 80s, and I remember being asked by the Carnival Committee to get information out to the people. Because the only other outlet was Alex Pascal, I think, had Black Londoners and BBC Radio London.
Yeah.
So, I'd come up and I remember, for instance, with the Steel Band organization, Pepe Francis would call me up, and he was, with Ebony Steel Band, and said, Smokey, we've got so-and-so, we got a blockout going on, could you let the people know that first, right? So this is where I think we're falling down at the moment, because there is no communication between, say, the people,
the masses,
the powers that be,
and
the public. So the public in the dark, people ring up someone like, we know sometimes I speak to Dexter, Coquier, and people are calling now saying, oh, I'd like to get involved in Carnival. They don't know. But because of his profile that he's got, if anybody knows, it's Dexter Khan. Or I'll get a call that says, Smokey, I want to get involved. And what I find really interesting is that we start, a friend of mine pushed me in the corner and make me put out the Smokey Joe Roadshow Kids, little kids section.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, do I really want to get involved in this? But what is interesting about it is I've got people calling me, Smokey, I've got a 7-year-old grandchild who wants to come and...
Which is the next generation
is the next generation
of Carnival.
And they're really looking forward. And I had to think back and think, well, I remember when I used to look forward to going to Carnival,
Yeah.
Even remember in the days as a boy in Trinidad, in San Fernando, right? Carnival coming around the corner and you can't wait, right? So, so I know the excitement, the vibe that you get. So now you've got a young generation coming in because we have to pass the ball.
Right? And we need to be able to reach
and we
them.
create a foundation, right? Through a lot of struggles to get our event in Notting Hill, right? And out of Notting Hill, and I would say maybe Leeds Carnival, which is about the same age as ours, right? We've got carnivals around Europe. Every city.
Okay. Notting Hill of itself, 60 years is a long time. You're saying that it has influenced the rest of Europe.
Yes.
So we have something to be proud of here in the UK.
Yeah, without a doubt. Notting Hill Carnival has spawned a load of other carnivals around Europe, right? Because people seeing it and saying, hold on, these people are having a good time. Look at these costumes.
Yeah.
Look at this. And why can't we do this within our community? And also, I think what people have to appreciate is Carnival is a release valve. It's a tension, and I can go right back to...
But when you say a release valve, let me be a little cheeky. Is it a release valve in the sense of people would just go down there and just be totally carefree on those 2 days?
Yes, in that way, because, I remember, I'll give you an example. When I went back home to Trinidad Carnival one year, I think there was, the unions was going to strike and everybody was a bit anxious, right? And I remember my friend's mom saying, you all have to leave this, this place is going to explode on Ash Wednesday after Carnival. And Carnival came along, everybody went on the road, they had a good time. Ash Wednesday, so who's going to march and who's going to protest? And everybody's like, no, I'm going Maracas, so I'm going by the beach. So the release of it, the tension, they came out, they got rid of their frustrations. And the government take a chill pill and relax.
And there's a lot taking place in the world now. We're not going into politics, but there's so much of that people are so uptight with just living, existing.
Exactly.
And they need something. Everybody's looking forward to summer, and as we know, it's going to be 60 years in the summer. Bank holiday weekend. Everybody looking forward to that. So I could understand that aspect of it.
Yeah.
So you are adamant that. And I'm putting words in your mouth. The powers to be who has managed Carnival throughout the years has failed us in the sense that they weren't able to answer back the criticism that Carnival seemed to get based on your explanation or your analogy of a Carnival bashing come August month.
Yes, well, I think we have no right of reply as it were. We have no way of replying
And
because
you still think we need in this time? We still need
we
to.
need
We
to
still
have
need to do that. We still
we
need to be
need
able
to
to
have
reply.
we need to have an organization. So if someone and comes on and accuse me of something, I turn around and say, well, hold on, no, it's not actually that.
But some of the critics will say, well, you have an opportunity with and we're talking about the powers to be. They have a website, they have a Instagram, a Facebook page, and whatever, they have a website. It will be for them to release or put out a press release or answer to the press themselves by writing an official letter to inform them that the position that they take on a specific matter in Carnival is not so. They will say, all right, you don't need a registration for that. And I'm just being devil's advocate here.
Well, with technology now,
Mm,
in the last few years,
mm,
everyone, look, you go on Facebook, everybody is got their opinions,
everybody got something to say.
and
Yeah, yeah,
everybody
yeah.
got something to say on it.
Mm.
So, and that's fair enough, you know. Um, but I still look at the news on the mainstream radio or
On the
television.
television.
Yes, I look at it because then I see a more condensed version of
Yeah.
news, right?
Well,
And I think with, for instance, we're talking specifically of Carnival, right?
yeah,
One of the main arguments and things is the crowd and the people in the Notting Hill area
yeah, yeah,
who've moved in there. But let's not forget that places like Notting Hill and all these places that my dad, when
Yeah.
he came here in the 50s, he settled in Notting Hill,
And
Labra
nothing.
Grove,
Yeah, yeah,
actually. I could tell you the exact address is 24 Oxford Gardens,
Okay.
right? And because my grandmother made me write letters to him,
Yeah, yeah,
in the
yeah, yeah,
50s
yeah.
as a boy. So, because I was in Trinidad when my parents came here,
Yeah,
right? So what I'm saying to you is that we have this whole thing that's moved on,
yeah,
and the fact of the matter is that there's an immigrant community that went into the inner cities where these big houses were left unattended.
okay, and that's in the
They were
laboratory area.
derelict,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
other places as well. But
Yeah.
so and they were forced to live there. They redeveloped it, because these places were regarded as ghettos,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
right? Because there was all these new houses going up and block of flats, and the English would say, I don't want to live there, I would live
Yeah,
here. But the Caribbean peoples, the African peoples,
They lived in those
Irish
communities.
people, they had to take what they get,
Right.
right? So they developed it. Now, you can't buy a cupboard in Notting Hill Gate or Labra Grove for less than £250,000, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, but the people who moved in there should have known that, hey,
Carnival was always
every
there.
year there's a carnival. I can't move with the area and say, I'm sorry, I don't like carnival, so you can't continue because I bought a house there. I bought a house, I did my homework and realized, hey, there's a carnival going to take place in August.
Yeah, yeah.
And it comes with the territory.
And it happens once a year.
Yeah.
Now, let me be clear. I am in this same boat with you, sailing here as far as Notting Hill Carnival, having its own voice, i.e., in the sense of broadcast or radio, right? I mean, I know there's social media and they will put out stuff on social media and on their website. In regards to counteract what you're saying, we're saying time has moved on. So I am just looking at it from someone who lives in the area, who's now moving to that area, and has that same misconception that they should actually move from here. It's no longer, this is not the place for it. I am in the same boat with you, but how do we appease those people? Because we want to continue and retain our present within the environment as we know it. Traditionally, we are accustomed having a full English in the morning and a Sunday morning. I still want to have carnival in Labra Grove. I don't want it to move to High Park or anyway, but how do we appease those people?
Well, that's a very difficult one. But what I would say is maybe it's a question of they accepting the fact that we were there before you came into the area.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think a lot of the people in the Labrador area who's been living there for years, and I'm talking about English, white, whoever, right? They love carnival and they will tell you, we love our carnival. I don't know why you're coming into this area to tell us to stop. Right? So, they say empty barrel make the most noise, right? So you're going to hear from the people the minority,
Yeah.
who got their issues. But the majority of people are happy with their carnival. And not to mention the fact that the money that carnivals bring within the community,
Mm-hmm.
that it generates within the community. I think even the Royal Borough, Kensington, and Chelsea has one of the lowest council tax rates. I don't know if it's still so,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So who's gonna turn their nose down? Which government official is gonna turn their nose down at the money that's coming
That is generated.
is
on that
generated?
weekend.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things is Smokey, and I like to be fair and balanced. I think one of the problems we have is that it's a good, and before I move to the problem, it's a good thing you're talking about, and hopefully the Carnival Committee will seriously sit down and think about it together with the organizers who might be the council and looking at having that voice. I think one of the problems we have is the education aspect of carnival and understanding how to behave in carnival, because yes, we hear the residents complaining,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to appease that. We have to find that balance where we both can work together. But I've seen on occasions some people conduct or behavior at carnival in the sense of soiling people property. I mean, we know carnival and soiling people property
Doesn't go hand in hand.
doesn't go hand in hand, and hence the reason why we will get those pushed back. So the education and the radio point of view, I think,
Yeah.
is really a good point where we could be educating the patrons who come into carnival. This is the way you need to behave. We put all the infrastructure, we put toilets. It doesn't mean that you're going to somebody's yard and just
Yeah.
relieve yourself and that kind of thing.
But the thing is, you have to realize that in any community, right?
Yeah.
There's always going to be, we don't live in a perfect world. A perfect
Of course
world would
not,
be
of
great.
course not.
So there's that percentage of people, regardless whether it's out of a football match, a demonstration, or whatever,
Mm.
going to do that. I'm not saying it's acceptable. But
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying that you're going to get it,
Mhm.
right? So don't make it a situation that only happens in carnival. It happens
That's correct.
where you have a major gathering.
Where you have a major
you
event,
will,
yeah.
you will have that.
You'll always get
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So and let's not forget the carnival, for the size of it,
Yeah.
it's got the lowest crime rate, if I'm not mistaken, of any
Event of that
event.
size.
Yes.
Mhm.
I don't like to use the word festival, but yeah, a gathering of that size, right?
Yeah.
So for the amount of people, I'm not saying that the crime is acceptable. What I'm saying is that you're going to get crime. But if you have any major event, the carnival, Notting Hill Carnival, has got the lowest percentage of crime.
Right. It's going to be 60 years. You would have spent at least 40 years after that,
Yeah.
a part of that. What is your fondest memory of this period of 60 years as far as carnival is concerned? What are some of the highlights that would have actually remained
In my brain.
present in the brain? Things that happened, moments that you saw, or music that you would have played, and the reaction of people. What was some
What's
of
it? The evolution of the thing. Remember that I got involved in the carnival thing in the mid 80s. Because I was producing a lot of soca and calypso music, releasing records
Yeah.
from Trinidad and what I made over here, right? And so to reach a wider audience, myself and Rudy Grant, Eddie Grant's brother,
Yeah.
they had the Ice Label. We teamed
Yeah,
up
which
and
we
were-
spoke about.
Yeah, we were selling records.
Yeah.
Right? But from that, and once again, it's like you're constantly having a battle with the authorities. When the authorities came and said to me, okay, sorry, you realize that it's illegal to sell anything on the road. And I'm
Yeah.
saying, well, give me a thing.
An option.
But then I had to move on. And
Yeah.
I got Dexter Khan from Koki said to me, right, come and play some music on the road for me. So, and I thought, okay, this is a new experience. We, it really took off. It was fantastic. When
What were you playing? I mean, that was vinyl?
No, we didn't play vinyl. We had to make myself, a guy who we called the Bambino,
Yeah.
right? And even Mike Forbes. We would sit down and we make tapes, right?
Yeah.
So we extended the tunes on the tapes and we made cassette tapes and we would spend all night recording these cassettes ages for the road and carnival, right? Because playing records, although some people I know did try to play records, but
Yeah.
truck goes over a bump on the record, is jumping like nobody's business. So
You remember the first year you played for Cokie?
I think that would have been around 1989 or something. That's
1989. You remember what the truck looked like? It didn't look anything like what we see now. These big 45
well. I tell you
articulate.
what. I tell you what. I would say honestly say oh, okay. I don't want to take credit away from Soca Massive. One of the biggest songs that ever came across when I was static on the road was Soca Massive.
Yeah.
There was also another big sound system called China Funk,
Yeah.
right? Back in the day. But we got a massive sound system on the Coquille truck, right?
But it wasn't a 40-foot lorry.
No.
I mean, them times it was a Bedford truck. You know,
No. It was a 20 foot, I think.
I mean, that's something I'll ask Dexter when I do talk to him.
Yes.
But that.
But we was sounded so well. Actually, we used two sound systems. One was guy from East London called Jatabi, who
Okay.
was renowned for having one of the loudest heavy bass driven sound systems, right? We
Yeah.
used him, and then we used Gladdy Wax, who had a really nice sound system because you hire in a sound system, right? I didn't have a sound system,
Yeah.
but these
So
guys,
you're
the sound
hiring people,
system
yeah.
culture was there, so everybody eat a food, as they say, but there's a picture that came out in the front of the evening news, with Coquille coming down Labrador Grove.
And that was
when
your
I look-
style moment? That was your style
That's the
moment?
style moment, Smokey Joe Roadshow featuring all the people. And that's the other thing. I created the roadshow to give other DJs a platform
Yeah.
to introduce them into it, because everybody got a chance to play some music, and it was great.
So that was, you're saying 89? That was your first year with
Yeah, I
with
think
Coquille?
Dexter probably have that down.
But
a bit.
when I speak to Dexter,
Dexter.
I would
92.
80.
Um, okay then, so then we definitely have to talk about that.
No, Dexter have to, because he.
The fill me in and that, and I'll definitely be talking to Dexter. In regards to you transitioning from Coquille, because I know at some point you had your own band on the road. How did you find that challenge?
I think it's Carnival is a thing that one band breeds another band,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's just standard practice in the Carnival movement,
Mhm.
where okay, I'd like to have a go at this myself, and so I did Arawak Carnival band with my sister,
Yeah.
right? And I think that was around 1999, 2000,
Yeah.
and then my daughter, or my late daughter, I
Your
should
late
say,
daughter, God rest her
she
soul.
she had some ideas on designing. I remember Carnival is a creative thing, So I mean, Dexter had Wayne Barkley that did all the Coquille costumes. And before that, he even worked with Peter Minshall and people like that. A lot of renowned artists.
Yeah.
So Coquille was renowned for bringing that kind of
So you would
quality
have
costume.
spawned out of Coquille.
Yeah,
You
and
would
then
have come
so,
out
yeah.
of Coquille.
Yep, and then we approached with a next big band in Trinidad called Legends, which
Yeah.
later became Legacy with Big Mike
Yeah.
on there, right? And so Coquille was doing their own thing with Barkley. I teamed up with Big Mike with Legacy in Trinidad. We brought a different style of costuming,
Yeah.
and that's the evolution of it. And that's the great thing about Carnival. And one of the things I think is that we fail to realize, we got a young generation of very enthusiastic and well-educated kids, right?
Okay.
When we came here, we had the battles, right? But these kids are not standing for, you can't tell them anything about race, they're not good enough because they're educated here, they're born here, and they know what they want.
Yeah.
And we have to embrace them because the skills that they've got both in education, marketing, finance, and everything. And they want to continue the tradition of Carnival. And I think we have to make sure that we bring them in and give them a legacy, because at the end of the day, we had fun when we were little.
Yeah.
And they want to have the fun. Even the young kids now with the Smokey Joe kids, right? When I watch them and it's like, they got their costume, they can't wait.
They're excited.
They're excited to put on a costume, And there's something about people putting on a costume that they just get into a different world. And that's the beauty of Carnival. So my advice to people is, you know what? if Carnival is to survive, get in a costume.
Get in a costume.
Get in a costume.
Now, what would have kept you up till now so connected to Carnival? And is there something happening that you cannot walk away? Because you, from listening to more or less your resume of your experience of Carnival, you have done more or less everything that needed to be done in Carnival, but you still continue to contribute to Carnival. What it is, why? Because I keep hearing, people talk about this, for want of a better word, this zombie that keep pulling you. What it is to date that still keep you involved?
I think when you're genuinely passionate about something,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fortunate enough to have made my living um, with my hobby, which was when I first came to the country, like a lot of people, we started collecting records.
Yeah.
And from records, I became a DJ. And then my DJ career has continued non-stop for 55 years practically. And one thing has led to another. It led me into music production, hosting shows on the radio, etc.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that keeps me going is when I get younger people coming to me for advice. So even though I think, well, I've had enough of this now.
So you're trying to tell me Smokey the Witch Chicken? I mean, just because somebody asks you for advice, you're still involved in Carnival?
Well, okay, let me put it this way. I put up a flyer, right?
Yeah.
Because I thought, okay, I'm just going to go on the road, hang out with a band, and,
Yeah.
take a backseat. Because when you're involved with Carnival, it's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
Because once you get on that road, you have to look out for the trucks. You have got to be, insurances. People don't realize that it's a very serious thing. I take out the average band in Notting Hill Carnival, believe it or not, takes out between 5 and 10 million pounds worth of public liability insurance. We're not irresponsible people that goes on the road with two.
So you had to take out insurance to be on the road too?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, we're not irresponsible people that go out there without any health and safety measures, without any, the proper thing. And this is the part behind the scenes that people don't understand, right? And so, someone called me and said to me, Smokey, come and play 2 hours on my trucks. And they did a flyer, and everybody, oh, you're back on the road.
So that excitement, that buzz.
Yeah, it's a buzz, and it's a nice feeling, and it's great to be asked. It's good to be asked and to be considered, And what am I going to do? Well, I ain't going to say, I'll tell you what, I'm not staying in front of the TV, falling asleep by myself. You can forget that.
Quite right. So, 60 years of Carnival, what are some of the things that you see now that you think needs to change, that needs to make Carnival or the experience of Carnival, from your point of view? You've been a band leader, you've been a sound system leader, you have promoted Carnival through the radio, been a broadcaster, so you've been an avid part of Carnival and the development of Carnival. Yes, looking at it today, because we celebrated, this is 2026 and we're going to be celebrating 60 years. What you see as some of the things that you think that, from your perspective?
I think from my perspective, one of the most important things with Carnival is the music, right? Carnival people come out to party, to release their tension, to have fun, right? I remember Notting Hill Carnival is unique, different from any other carnival. Within the Carnival footprint, you have reggae sound systems, soul sound systems, house, and everything. And then on the route, you have the bands, steel bands, soca sound system, soca's on the route. And I think we have to keep that definition, So every music has its space, in Carnival, right? And so that the people who like soca, when they go on the road, they enjoy their soca music. If they want to hear reggae, whether they go by Channel 1 or one of the big sound systems,
static sound,
the static sound systems. And there are some fantastic DJs within the sound system culture that you can stand up there all day long, with them. So I think we have to respect each other within the Carnival community and respect each other's music. But most of all, I think you have to try and keep that the people who in their costume enjoying. Right now that we have a problem, it's a good problem to have. The crowds on the route
Yeah, yeah.
in Carnival.
So you have an attendance.
Yeah, we have an
sense of
attendance. What
yeah.
I would like to see is the public get in a costume and allow people the hard arcs, to enjoy their costume. So when somebody's spending money, they can enjoy their costume, enjoy themselves on the road.
Yeah.
Um,
So for you, what from based on what I hear you saying, you're looking at participation. What you want to see is more people being involved.
yes.
So the structure as it is, you don't see much things changing there.
No, the blueprint is there,
Mhm.
and I don't think it's that broken that it need to be
That,
fixed.
that it needs to be fixed.
It
Mhm.
just has to be administration, and all of it is down to funding,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
If you have the funding, you can put the right people in place, guards, everything, security, etc.
There is something I want to touch on because for a number of years you've been actively involved in it, and at no point of this conversation we've actually spoke about it. We, when I say we as a community look forward to Carnival, and we know one of the main kickoff of that weekend is Panorama. You have been involved with MCing Panorama for a number of years. I know we haven't spoken about it. I can say I've had the pleasure of working with you at Panorama, and you had that passion and you know how to execute Panorama. Look at it then when we were doing it,
Yeah.
and look at it now. I mean, it has evolved quite
Yes.
a lot. How do you feel that of what you're seeing?
Well, I think first and foremost, you have one weekend, the amount of rehearsals
Mhm.
and that people put in for their bands, right? The average band, okay, maybe 100 players,
Yeah,
right? And it could be made up of 3 generations of one family in the band.
yeah,
And they spend hours practicing their tune, right? Now, there's songs that we call steel band songs.
yeah, yeah.
And I think that one of the things I'm passionate about that we did is we made sure that at Panorama we played the music that's related to
Related to
Panorama.
Pan. Related
Yes.
to Pan, yeah.
Kitchener, all these people wrote some
Mhm.
fantastic steel band tunes,
Mhm.
right? So there's no need to take the average Fet tune into Carnival.
Into Panorama.
Into Panorama, sorry.
Mhm.
You know, that's one thing I'm very passionate about. You know, there's great tunes, and of course the policy is that you play.
The,
you
the
know,
tune, whatever tune the band is
you
going to
play
play,
the
yeah.
tune that the band is going to play. You have to play it. That's the way it works, right? So you might end up playing the same song hearing the same song for hours, but then each individual band has a different arrangement of the same song.
Of the same song, yeah,
And
yeah.
that is a fascinating part. I mean,
Mhm.
I actually got into MC and hosting the carnival by accident, you know, because it was kind of sorry, not the carnival, the panorama.
Yeah.
I keep saying carnival is panorama.
Mm.
I got into there because I think it was Justin, who was on the carnival committee. He said to me, they were doing the panorama, and I don't think they had an MC. It wasn't that pretty well organized.
Mhm.
And he just stopped the mic and said, Smokey, go and introduce the bands. And from that, you know, and then I think I said to you, you go and play the tunes that they have to play and do the MC.
Yeah.
And it really,
And it worked.
it worked fantastic. It went on for years, you know.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I think might be lacking. I understand the need to entertain the crowd, but from what you're saying there, I think there should be a capped area, i.e., you say, yes, you entertain the crowd prior, but once the band come into play,
Yeah.
after, then we can actually have
Well,
our whatever.
you know, I think
yeah.
panorama should be what it says.
It should be
Just
panorama.
It should be play.
Everything related to pan
Yeah,
music.
because you know they're like everybody. They've got one day.
They got
They
one
spend
day.
weeks.
A couple hours. They got a couple
Yeah,
hours.
they
to be
spend
honest.
weeks rehearsing for
Mhm.
that couple of hours. So I think, due respect to the steel band players, the arrangers, the people that put in hours. Right now, they've got some youngsters. We do a thing called the Soca Sunday School, and we try to highlight
The young pan
a
players.
young pan player every month. And it's amazing. They're actually coming together and forming their own trios and things. So, and the young people coming in to support, they're so passionate. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and to get young people, because we keep complaining and saying there's nothing for young people to do,
Well,
and once you have them involved, then that's a plus
well,
as
I mean
opposed to a minus.
that's I think the steel band community has to be given the respect
Mm.
for what they do with kids in the summer. They take a lot of kids off the street, right? We have all these different problems in communities, right? And remember that if you want to be a steel band player, it's not, you don't have to be West Indian, it can be anybody.
Right, and I
Yeah,
hope people hearing that you
yeah,
do not
yeah.
have to be West India.
No, you,
Once you have a passion for music,
yeah,
or you have an interest in the
yeah,
steel
yeah. No,
band.
I mean,
So, but then how does people find a band? What they have to do? Go on
well,
Google pan side, pan orchestras.
well, I think, I mean, at the moment,
Mm.
on a Tuesday, for instance, at the Tabernacle in
Yeah,
Power Square,
yeah.
Deborah teaches, and we got kids from 5 years old coming in, and grannies who decided, okay, my kids are grown up, I want to learn to play a steel band, and they have their adult classes, So,
I understand you quite clearly, and I see your vision. When you walk away from this and you say, here's the battle. I'm just gonna go somewhere in the islands and put up my foot and drink some coconut water. What you would want people to remember you for? What would be your lasting legacy is the fact that people can say, oh, you did this, you did this. What do you want them to remember you for?
I think that I stayed true to my culture, right?
I can vouch for that.
Yes, I stayed true to my culture. Yes, I am a serious jazz, funk, and soul collector, and that's how I made my living in the first place.
Yeah.
But then the Mighty Sparrow came into the Q Club one night when I was DJing, and he said, "You're Trinidadian? You got any calypso music?" And I'm like, it was very embarrassing. That's back in about 1977.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, you know what? Yeah, let me get cracking with this. And so I was able to integrate soca and calypso music with playing everything else that was playing. So we'd be playing 1 minute I'm playing James Brown, the next minute I'm playing a Sparrow tune or a Kids tune, and then I'd be playing some John Holt or some Bob Marley.
So you wanna be remembered for your contribution to the art form.
Yeah,
and
but the
culture.
total, black music culture.
You're committed.
Yeah.
And 60 years from now, do you think that we have done the West Indian community has done justice to Carnival?
I think we have in the main. I think we have in the main, and I think we put down a good foundation. It's now to hand the baton over.
Hand the baton.
Yeah, and the young kids are here, and when I hear them speak, they're very passionate about it. So it's just to now integrate them into it. The running of carnival, get them involved in the running of carnival, get them involved in mass bands, get them involved in steel bands.
So you would say 60 years has been a really good stint for us.
Yes, because it has its ups and downs.
It has its
But
ups and downs.
we've come through it all, and we're still here.
Smokey Joe, let me take this opportunity to say, Mr. Adrian Joseph, we know him as Smokey Joe on the airwaves and around town. Thank you very much for your contribution and all that you have done, not only for people like myself, but the people who are following through in the back, through other people, because you would have brought somebody in, and as you say, the legacy just continue, and that person will be able to bring somebody along. You have always been somebody who has been given to the community and given to young DJs and upstarts. We came to many of the events that you would have played, and thank you. And we hope this 60 years breeds another 60 years, knowing that you would have paved the way for a lot of us and contributed to that. I want to say thank you.
Thank you to that. I want to say thank you to the community for the support they've given me over the years. Because I've made my living. I spent my life within my community, and it's been fantastic so far, and I ain't done yet.
and you ain't done yet. Again, thank you for being on Straight Talk. I know we could sit down and talk again, and it's not like we would not sit down and talk again, but we wanted to celebrate 60 years. We wanted to see what it was like, and you have painted a very clear picture of that, and for that I'm eternally grateful for you taking the time to spend with me. You could have been doing so many other things.
Yes.
So Smokey, thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you.